Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending this session. So this is the technical panel where, like, I have what I think is a group of cool people that have done, I think, a lot of interesting things. And I hope, like, through conversation today, we can kind of go through their journeys, learn a thing or two from them, and yeah, like take things to improve ourselves. So I would let the panelists go in order and just introduce themselves. I'll say I think everyone can see the same screen, but just in case I can tell you who should go next. So John, you can go. Just like introduce yourself. You know.
Hi guys, my name is John Ajatunde, head of engineering at MoneyPoint, deposit and savings and PS channels. So I've had quite a number of experience being a developer and also being in the leadership space. You know, I
Yeah.
think it's nice to be here.
Nice to have you, John. In fact,
Hi guys, my name is Ifeoluwa Shobogun. Call me Ife. I am a software engineer first of all. I'm currently a tech lead on Apiestack here, on one of the teams Apiestack.
nice to meet you,
Nice to meet you too.
Toby.
Hello, Oluwatobi Ajia, um, engineering manager at Mo- Money Point within the business loans and salary advance org. Have
Nice to
a
meet.
bit of experience, couple years, not as much as John. but, but yeah, nice to meet you, everyone.
Nice to meet you,
Mhm.
OJ. Uh, okay. OJ, we can't hear you if you're speaking, and we also can't see you.
So I think my audio is switching off. But if you can hear me now, I'm OJ. I lead product engineering teams.
Nice to meet you. I think it's breaking, but hopefully it gets better. All right. So, well, it's nice to meet
Yeah,
all
fixing
the
that now.
speakers. As we go on, I would ask people in the audience, please, if you have questions, leave in the Q&A. What is it like? The way this is going to be structured is we'll talk for like 40-ish minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and hopefully we have enough questions from you to make up the rest. But if not, I can keep going. This should be a fun conversation anyway. All right. So, first thing I want to say, everyone here is kind of leading like an area or a team, and across companies, like this looks different. Even the same roles kind of looks different, across companies. So I kind of want to maybe like another round of, so for example, John is head of engineering. Like, what does that mean for you? Like, like what does a day look like? What do you think about? If you're like tech lead at Paystack, what does that mean? Do you manage people? Do you manage teams? Do you manage projects? So wait for OJ to come back. I think there's some issues with his internet, but I'm sure he'll be back. So what does like leadership mean in your role, essentially? So we can go John, Ife, and Toby again, since that's what.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for head of engineering, I think most of what you want to do, you are the bridge between business and delivery. Basically, you are trying to deliver um, solutions to help business move forward, right? Some of them come in form of proper engineering as regards product. Sometimes it may not necessarily be somebody writing code, but you are just there to enable delivery for the business. That's the summary of what you do. And then that scales down from you having layers of managers under you. For example, you have engineering manager reporting to you, you have architect also reporting to you in some cases. In some cases, you have senior engineering manager reporting to you directly. And then you are also the point of contact for the big picture of the business domain, because you have visibility into what other domains or what other department or sub business unit are actually doing, right? So you are the bridge. But then the other part is also that in that domain, you are the first person when it comes to displaying technical strength. So which means that if they scale down technical problem from the intern to the engineer to the architect to the engineering manager, when they all can't solve it, they have to bring it to you and you have to provide a solution. Now, that could be from design, it could be from sometimes rolling your sleeves to get your hands dirty. And then there's also the part of inspiration, because you have to be able to inspire people to deliver what they need to deliver, either maybe by making sure they grow or also making sure that they are able to manage themselves, because different people have different ways of being able to deliver. So that's the summary of what head of engineering is in the scope of MoneyPoint. Yeah.
Thank you, John. I have some follow-up questions for you. I'll come back. If I do want to go.
Yeah, I can go next. So today I'm the tech lead for the processing team at Paystack. And as a tech lead at Paystack, it means a couple of things, right? I think the first thing that it means is you are a figure or a person that people look to for technical direction and guidance, right? So first, within the context of your team, right? You have a team that you're managing, or your team that you're responsible for. When something goes wrong, when they ask questions, when you think about products, when you think about engineering in the context of the things your team manages or owns, you are the first person that they come to. But also within the context of the company, right? The tech leads are responsible to the company. We are responsible for technical direction of where the company is going, what the company needs to do, and how we need to do it. Then the other thing is, as leaders, right? Even if you're not directly responsible for people management, there is some level of people management that you have to do. There are senior engineers, there are junior engineers, there are interns, and even if you're not responsible for their career development in some way, but you're responsible for letting them know how things should work, right? A tech lead is someone that usually would have shown practical or knowledge and ability to do certain things, technical ability, someone that people can trust. So when people need help, when people need you to do something, when people need guidance, they would come to you. Also similar to what John mentioned in the context of MoneyPoint, where people come to you for problems, and you're also the bridge between like business and product, or business and engineering. As a tech lead, because you're multiple tech leads at the company, you are also kind of the bridge between product and engineering, between business and engineering. Because I think a lot of people think about engineering as like a siloed thing, like doing technical stuff, but you need to think about how the technical work that you're doing ties into like what the business is doing, and how it ties into what product is doing. So you're that point of contact between like the business teams, the product teams, and other teams that might need you to build things and solutions for them. So that's what it means to be a tech lead at Paystack. I mean, some of it, but that's primarily what it means.
Yeah, thank you. That was good. Toby, I'm struggling because like I usually call you Ajay. I'm not sure if I should.
Honestly, anyone is fine. I've carried the tag of Ajay for a very long time, so anyone is fine. But thanks. I mean, I know you said at the beginning this is out of scope. I didn't say at the beginning that it's arranged properly, but OJ's name comes like before my name on my own screen. So every time you call, like as you've called me first twice now, it's like which one is actually it? But yeah. So back to the point. An engineering manager at MoneyPoint is pretty much similar to what Ife has said around the tech lead over there at Paystack. Over here it's I know when we didn't necessarily have engineering manager as a role clearly at MoneyPoint before. It was more recently done. It was mostly enterprise architects that we had leading teams. And I know when the change was happening, one thing I would always ask that what exactly is the new expectation? And the one thing they would always drive home to me, and I guess that's what I've stuck, and that's how I've tried to run with the role, would be you're in charge of delivery, right? Um, the product teams have things product teams probably already have like their OKRs, they have things that they want to target and stuff they want to meet. And they have thought of like features and whatever that would take us towards that goal. As the engineering manager, it's mostly your job to ensure that you're able to deliver these, should I call them dreams, bring it to reality. It could include sometimes getting your hands dirty, like John has mentioned. And it could also just include you ensuring that your team, because you're leading like a group of other engineers and QAs and things and people like that. But it could include any of them. You're also the go-to person for most things within that unit of the team. And so, as John explained, his is from the whole like that's unit that will then report back to the whole is where like the engineering manager comes in. So you're the person with the most precise knowledge about what is going on within that little silo um, of the team. So that's also you are actually also very much meant to be to play a very decent role in the chat, helping like your team chart their path, their growth, ensuring people aren't stagnant within the team. They're able to grow, they're able to even see growth opportunities and things like that. So yeah, that's what it means to be an engineering manager at Moniepoint.
Thank you. That was good. And OJ, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think everyone here has covered the good part of it. But mine is like twofold, product and engineering, but I'll lean to the engineering, I mean, because of the context now. It's a lot of liaising with the product team, right? Liaising with also different teams across the company. Working directly with like the leads that report to you, and also sometimes the people who report to them on the different teams, and ensuring delivery, right? Ensuring what's being built is built well. Yeah, and getting things out.
Cool, thank you. So,
And direct people management.
oh, I feel like something got slowed down. Were you done?
Yeah, I said people management and people management.
Okay, thank you. So like a follow-on question I have for John. So, maybe John and OJ, because both of you, I think, directly manage people. One of the things, there was kind of some discourse on Twitter, I think, a few weeks ago, maybe, where like people were talking about whether your team should have regular meetings. And the direction kind of went one way, but I think, like, personally, I was kind of thinking about it in my own context and in the context of like, my role. And I was like, oh, I feel like this is very contextual. I mean, some people have had very like, hard lines of like, yeah, don't have meetings at all. Some people are like, oh yeah, let's have meetings. And I think for like, if you're managing people, it kind of depends on the context. And people are promising, but maybe they need some guidance in like how to manage their time well. Some people might need a bit more need a bit more push to do stuff. So I kind of want to know how you manage like those type of situations. Like when you're managing people, different people kind of have different strengths, deliver like a different rate. How do you like manage a team where like you have a mix of these sort of people? So OJ and John, yeah.
Okay, so it's a bit of a blend, right? Because as much as possible, you want to give time back to people to do their work. But then the problem is if you don't, you are not going to have some sort of bonding with your direct, the people you manage. You are not going to have some sort of bonding to get to know them, to know when they're having issues, to know when they need help, and they can't tell you that they need help. Because one of the other things you have to do as a manager is you should be able to spot or anticipate issues even before they happen. And also, that is also the meetings now depends. For example, if it's maybe regular team meetings, that is probably because you want to have some sort of culture. Because we are all working remotely, it's very difficult for you to establish some sort of culture in the team. And you need that. You need people to be empathetic towards each other. And they will not do that if you are just sending message, maybe on Slack or something, right? When you have those kind of regular meetings, right, they kind of form some sort of rapport, and then you are able to be empathetic towards your teammates, or even sometimes step in when your teammate is having difficulty. Now, when it comes to one-on-ones, right, it's important because you need a way to be able to give feedback to the people you manage without them feeling judged, maybe in front of everybody else, right? It's also a place whereby you get to know them better, because sometimes I remember, I think 2 years ago, was December, and then I told them that we're going to have some sort of pseudo December pre-Christmas dress up. What was this? Like, everybody, you have to, put on some costume. If you want to dress as Santa Claus, dress as Santa Claus, blah blah blah, and then there's a prize for the winner. Now, because I noticed before then there was some sort of friction between team members, between some of these people that I manage. And then wow, some people even rather dress up their daughters in whole Christmas feet. And then of course it was nice. And then what happened was that immediately after that kind of meeting, the dynamics of the team changed. Now it changed from I want to get my work done to we need to get this done. So in needing to get this done, they're able to reach out to each other because, oh, this person is not that difficult. But then you have to be careful so you don't have a lot of meetings, because the question, and that's why I set rules for meetings. If you want to have a meeting, the first thing is, do I need this meeting? Can I have this conversation with you without this meeting? Then the second thing is, you must have your agenda on this meeting. Because if you don't have your agenda, you are going to talk for 1 hour without achieving anything. And then the next thing is, what's the action point? What do I want to get out of this meeting, right? If you have those rules set, you would discover that sometimes you can eliminate about maybe 40% of the meetings you get because they are unnecessary, right? But then there are some that are really necessary, and I think you should have them. So that's my own stance on meeting. I think is a blend.
Thank you, OJ. Thank you so much, John. That's good.
Yeah. So I mean, John covered a lot of things. For me, I think I'll say meetings are important, right? Meetings where everyone comes together, I'll say speak about the things, right? How they feel, right? Or how things have been going in their respective teams, squads, right? What they think can be better, right? Which they may have had in retrospectives with, let's say, the product team or whatever teams that they directly work in, right? But holistically, getting that feedback across different teams can help you build better process, right? Ground up. There's also the meetings for, would I say, growing technically across board. I mean, there are definitely channels where resources can be shared. There are places where people can find interesting things and just drop it. Right? But there needs to be a place where I'll say maybe someone or a few people on the team talk about things they found interesting of recent, right? But apart from those two and non-product, right, I don't think there needs to be a lot of meetings, right? There should be things for team bonding, right? Because those help the team dynamics, like John gave an example of. But yeah, that's it. Too many meetings is a big problem, right? Too little is also a problem. Yeah.
All right, thank you both. So it sounds like
One more thing.
okay.
Yeah, one more thing to add is if you have also too little meetings and you don't have like a place for all the different teams like you manage, right, to come together and like talk as a whole, you may start having different teams forming their own cultures, right? And
Right.
then there's no holistic engineering culture in the team.
Yeah, that makes sense. John, yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that. So one of the things that we try to do to promote cross collaboration was that we run some sort of sprint structure, agile, 2 week sprint. After every sprint, you have to do a demo, right, of what you built. And then this is like a meeting where all the teams, all the product teams, they have their engineering managers, and then you randomize who is going to be the presenter. Exactly. So you have to do a demo. People will ask you questions, and then you get to know what other people are doing and all that. Also, aside from that, then we have one. I think we call it engineering hall hands, where it's just meant for you coming to share your random engineering ideas. It could be that you saw one pull request or merge request, and wow, you saw something, or you want to introduce something, or you're trying something out, or you want to tell us about LLM and all that. That's when we're going to listen to your jargons, right? And all
Yeah.
that. But then the people that drive it are actually the engineers, because as much as possible, you shouldn't drive the meetings too much. You give the power to them, let them feel like this is our stuff, this is our thing, and it becomes more interesting to them.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just to speak, I mean, I don't know, for people in the audience that don't know, I used to work at MoneyPoint. It used to be called TeamApt, and I used to work at MoneyPoint, and we had this Friday thing that Felix, who was CTO, used to like created, where like Fridays we'll meet and like if we're reading a book or maybe like demoing something and like talk about them. Those used to be really, really cool. So cool. So a question I have for Toby. So we're kind of moving like a kind of change direction a bit. I mean, I know like you've done you've worked at Big Tech a bit, and you've worked at MoneyPoint, and I think like these environments are kind of different, right? So do you want to like talk us through like what do you find different or similar? So I guess it's twofold. So what do you find different and what do you find similar across like a Big Tech role and like a team like a company like MoneyPoint?
Oh, very, very, very interesting. Okay, what do I find similar first and foremost? I think what I found similar between both of them was that honestly, should I say it's like there certainly has been like no matter where I work, whether it was at Microsoft or at MoneyPoint, I've seen really, really technically sound people. It's not like obvious. I mean, this should be obvious, but you do not have to work in big tech for you to be technically sound. Like whether you are working at the biggest firms like Netflix, like Apple, or even people that never even get to work in any of those, like even within MoneyPoint, I've seen some really, really interesting people with really, really interesting, like very sound thinking. And so that's that. One thing I did find different, and I mean, once again, you say big tech, but I feel like even within big tech, it's scattered across teams. But with the team I worked with, it was like there was a difference for sure in pressure, right? The pressure to deliver within like really interesting timelines. Um, because with like what we were doing, we could talk about what we hope to deliver for the year. At the beginning of the year, we're planning the year, and it would mostly fall in line. Like this is literally a waterfall kind of something. Okay, we're doing this, and then like, it's actually going. But then while working in Modify, it's not necessarily often like always like that. Like things can get like really switched off real quick. I know in my previous team it was more like that. There was a time like we're just doing something, we're just like, wait, this needs to be done really, really, really quickly. And I'm like, okay, how quickly are you expecting? And they're like, that's if you gave me the product, if you gave me the solution yesterday, we'll be happy with it. I'm like, and I think so. I mean, I worked at MoneyPoint, I left for Microsoft, and I came back to MoneyPoint, and I think getting back in the flow of that after coming back it was a bit wild to me because I'm just like, wait, do you mean that if we just want to see this thing like this? Because it was never, I mean, we worked on one product that at the end of the day never even got released, but we're on one thing for about a whole year. Like just trying to, like the littlest of things, you're trying to make sure it's like pitch perfect.
Is that Microsoft?
But yes.
Okay.
But within this other team, and it's not even every team that's the same, even within MoneyPoint. But within my previous team, it was like, oh, it's you're trying to ensure like customer is getting value first and foremost, even before ensuring everything is perfect.
Yeah.
And so those are two ways in which I mean they certainly struck me as not similar. And I mean, I'm not saying that, oh, one way is definitely better and one way is not. I mean, they both have their pros and cons, and set depending on the size of organization, obviously those pros and cons matter more and matter less. But yeah, it was certainly or it's certainly something that is very different between the two.
Okay, thank you. I'm coming back. I have some questions for you. I'm coming back. If I had a question for you, so I'm kind of doing some research, and you've been a Paystack for like 6 years. And I think on average you've been promoted like every 2-ish years, and I thought that was really like impressive. So I wanted to ask you about your journey. Like, how do you, or how have you, like in your career, like worked through like growth? Like, how have you like, was this like planned out? Was this just like you was like really good technically and like you grew? Did you like, chart the path? And like, what kind of resources / environment the Paystack provides to help you grow?
Yeah. Thank you. So I think the primary thing that I did and that I'd usually recommend that everyone does is just like locking in, right? You need to realize that there is a lot of work that needs to be done to get to the level that you think you need to be, right? Because like I think a lot of people have an idea of like where they want to be, where they need to be, but like the work isn't matching up, right? I think one of the things that you mentioned in your presentation earlier in the morning was like at some point you need to like audit your life and figure out like if there's something that's important to you and you're not committing as much time or as much effort to it, then you're probably not like doing what you need to be doing. So I think for me, it's just been figuring out what's the primary thing that I want. I think like my career has always been very important to me, right? I need to just like grow. So at every point in time, I was always like working towards like becoming better technically, and not just like as an engineer, right? But like also like as a person that does engineering. So it's different because you can improve your technical skills, but you're not improving as a person. Things like learning how to learn, learning how to interact with people, learning a lot of things. So I think I did not sit down to chart a path per se, right? It's just been at different points in time, I was getting better technically, just learning new things, learning different things, trying to figure out once I know this, what's the next thing that I need to learn. And with that comes increased responsibility, right? Because at Paystack, one thing that Paystack does really well is it will put you in situations or in places where you need to do incredibly challenging work. And if you are not prepared for it, you probably will not be trusted to do the next one, right? Like you just do whatever, like we know what you can do, and we'll try to get you to the next level. But the reality is like you will do the work that you are capable of. You get the situation, you get the chance multiple times to do work that you might not be capable of. Like you're thrown into the furnace, well, I guess not the furnace, but you're thrown into like the deep waters to figure something out. Once you figure it out, people will realize, oh yeah, you're really good at this thing, or you can do this thing, and then you're trusted to do the next thing. So for me, it's just been growing technically, getting better at doing things, and becoming reliable to the point where it's like people need to do, because like Paystack is still a startup, right? And like Toby alluded to, there are times where you just need to do things quickly. There are times where you need things to ship. And when you become the person that people realize, when we come to this person, it's going to get it done. Or when we have this problem, it's going to help us get a solution. I guess like the career growth or like progression comes after, right? Like I don't think I've ever chased that, but it's just come because of the growth that I've made technically as a person, and like the increasing difficulty of the challenges and the problems that I've tried to solve. So Paystack does a good job of giving you the situations, presenting the situations, and giving you an idea of like what it is that you need to learn, and having the people around, because I think it was also Toby that mentioned that like there are very smart people around. There's just like so many people, and that's one of the things I like working. I enjoy about working at Paystack. There are people that know things that you could not even begin to imagine, right? And then it exposes gaps in your own knowledge, gaps that you know you need to fill. So you go, you learn those things, and then that's one gap learned, and then you hire someone, and then it's another gap you have to fill. And it's like, damn it.
A follow-up. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry. The
Yeah,
question I
that's
have for you is like, how do you? So you talked about like learning to learn. You talked about like obviously sometimes you kind of need to learn on the job and you need to grow your knowledge. Like, how do you kind of learn? And like maybe after you like speaks, if anyone else has contributions, that would be really cool. Because so something that I've kind of found as I've grown in my own career is there is a lot of like demand to deliver things quickly. And this is particularly interesting, like if I'm trying to solve a problem in a domain I have no idea about, and maybe the people I'm even leading have no idea about this. And it's like, oh yeah, but you have to do this quickly because maybe there's like a compliance, deadline in like 3 months. And we all kind of need to figure that out. So how do you like kind of address like a situation where you need to maybe deliver something quickly, you don't know anything about this area, maybe your team also doesn't know anything about this area, and the work needs to be done anyway, like,
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think the one thing, like I mentioned, one thing about Paystack is I don't think there's ever been anything that I've ever had to figure out that there was no one within the company that had like at least some context or some knowledge about it. So one thing I usually start with is like trying to figure out who has some context or who has some knowledge. Because like I'm still going to need to learn about this thing and figure this thing out. There's a deadline. It's a product company, right? We need to release this product, but you need to also like figure out the engineering that will help you release this product. So I use people as resources a lot, right? I'm reaching out to people within the company that, oh yeah, you know how to do this. You've done this in the past. Please walk me through how you did this, or let me know how you've approached this problem. Sometimes you share resources. Sometimes like it makes that work a bit easier. And then by myself, there is like some more, I guess like it's like a phrase that I like to use. There's some more like locking in that you need to do, right? You just need to figure out that there is a timeline for you to deliver this thing, right? And the good thing about Paystack is timelines aren't irrational, right? If we understand that this thing needs to go out, and I guess maybe I don't know if it works the same way in big tech, but timelines aren't irrational. We know this thing needs to be done, and we know the capability of this engineer that you've assigned it to, right? So it has to be realistic that this person can deliver it in this time. First of all, based on what they've shown in the past and what you know them capable of doing. So there's going to be the parts where you do a lot of work to figure out this thing, to find the solution to the problem, but like at the same time, it's not like you're going to go deep into the depths of it, right? I'm not going to learn how to like Festus build now on Kubernetes because like I'm trying to solve a problem with Kubernetes. I'm going to learn enough to know how to use Kubernetes to solve the problem that I need. And like in my personal time or over time, like if I have to do something else with Kubernetes, like it's like more knowledge and more knowledge and more knowledge. So sometimes you just have to learn enough to do the task that's at hand. And it's good to go back and figure it out like completely eventually. But yeah, it's a gap. It's a balancing act between knowing how much you need to learn to do the work that you need to do, communicating timelines, and making sure that like people understand that this is realistic and this is not realistic. And even if you're like, if timelines are weird and if things might not be delivered in the time that you've communicated, also communicating that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Cool. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any additions to that? Yes, John. Thank you.
So for me, it's a bit different, right? Because when you get a problem and then you assign it to teams that you guys need to deliver this, because let's say, for example, CBN is after you guys. So it's not a matter of whether you have to do it or not. You don't have a choice. It needs to get done. Then this is where paying it forward comes in. So one of the things that engineers forget to do is sometimes, right, it could be somebody that you have per program with one other team that can help you. So if you are selfish throughout your career, you are not going to gain or you are not going to maximize or leverage on that kind of relationship, which is sometimes you need to step out of your own immediate team and try to see what others are doing and try to help any way you can help them. Because what usually happens is that in these cases, you don't know how to solve it, but definitely somebody has an idea of how to solve it. Now, because you've done that favor to them, that's the moment whereby you can call in that favor and they can try to help you and all that, right? Also, I think in personal time, one thing developer always do, you overestimate how fast you are or how
Yes.
you are good. We know, but maybe the kind of problem I'm giving you, maybe not that good, right? So what you need to do is when there's no fire, I think you should prepare for the worst, which is, for example, you can do simple things as maybe try to train yourself in being able to think fast on your feet. Because sometimes you just need to find the shortest path that can fix. For example, let's say you have a production issue. You don't have time to think.
Yeah.
You just need to solve something because business don't care that you fix it tomorrow. What they need is something that can fix it now and then you fix the remaining later. So
Yeah.
things like that, skills like that, you gain them by, maybe practicing. There are tools that you can use to practice. As an engineer, maybe you also try to practice how to be faster when you write code because you can actually be faster. Because sometimes I was programming with some engineers and I saw how they lose so much time trying to move the keyboard around. Like, what's the shortcut for? You are moving your keyboard and you probably lost, let's say, 15 minutes of this session. So when you optimize things like that, in the days whereby there's deadline or you have serious, then those gains will come. It's like you going to the gym and trying to become, strong and all that. The day you get the advantage is when you don't have time to prepare, and you just have to. So that's what I have to add.
Yeah, thank you. That's really cool. I think it kind of touches on a couple of things that have been spoken on like throughout this conference so far. Like if I talked about locking in, Jonas talked about preparing. In the earlier talk, I spoke about being serious. I think that reading, preparing, writing simple things, even like I think people kind of underestimate the practice of just like going into your company's database, code base, and reading what's there. Like, what is this function doing? I mean, that's been there for like 15 years. No one has used this for anything. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but like, what is it doing? Kind of reading it, understanding what like they were trying to achieve, and like these things help you. OJ, you have some contribution, please.
Yeah, I was going to add like a couple of things. Like Ife and John covered a huge part of it, right? For solving problems that are, I'll say, new or you have no idea about, there are two things I think are important, and it also ties to, I'll say, John's comment on, let's say it's a prod issue, right? Two things are important. One is zooming out, right? When that problem gets dropped on your laps, right, or on your desk, right, the first thing you need to do is zoom out. And the second thing is to look for patterns, right? So there are always patterns. There's no, I'll give an example. If it's a new problem you're facing, right, it has a correlation to something. There's something similar to it, right? If you're reading through the docs, right, there's something it's similar to, there's a why, and that why most likely ties to the why of something else, right? Looking for patterns helps you, would I say, jumpstart or would I say learn things fast, right? Zooming out helps you see the broader picture of that thing, and then you can zoom in to go into the specific thing, right? And apply knowledge you've gained from other things. I mean, that also assumes you've been gaining knowledge, right? Which ties to other points that were raised, right? And then you can solve the problem, possibly even from a unique angle that no one has thought of, right? If you can, or come up with a new solution on the spot, like what John said.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. That was really good. I think like in my career, I've kind of seen people solve problems with like unique knowledge that just wouldn't have been possible without like them having like prepared in the past. And to also tie into some other issues, so we've had a talk today like about building intuitions for AI agents, and a couple of other talks like that. I really can't stress enough like understanding fundamentals, right? If you have like a knowledge of networking, it's possible to kind of infer maybe like I don't know, like there's a port blocked or like there's a custom NIC that someone is using that just isn't allowing messages get delivered to this VM. It's possible to infer that if you already know about how networking works, then try to figure it out when company is losing like I don't know $100,000 per minute or something. So yeah, just something to know. Thank you all so much for the contribution. So kind of also changing gears now, I want to kind of move towards like excellence as an idea, and maybe more practical, and as an idea and in practice as well. So you all kind of manage teams and people with different scope and in different ways. How do you think about like excellence? So for your teams, like what does excellence mean for you? And for like your individual engineers, like what do you look for like in an engineer? Like when you say, oh yeah, this person, I think this person is excellent. So big question, probably can be answered in different ways. We can go in order again, maybe backwards now. So OJ can go first, and then we can get to John.
Yeah, so it's a hard one. So excellence is paying attention to the details. I mean, for me, right? This is from building. If it's a product company or a product, right, based company, right, loving the product, right, and caring. And because caring and loving the product makes you put in that extra thought, that extra effort, right? It is dotting your I's and crossing your T's. It is having policies in place to prevent or to mitigate risks, right? It is finishing building something and taking time to still think about it and think of how it can be better, right? I mean, we chase deadlines. It is going in the background, spending some time during the weekend, catching up through PRs from other people, right, within the company. Most times you don't have to. I'm talking of if you're an IC, right? If you're a manager also, right, there's that. But if you're an IC, you don't have to, but you can do that, right? See, oh, this person is doing something interesting, right? I can try it out in my next thing I'm working on, right? Things like that. It's in paying attention to, or would I say consuming the right content, technically, right? There's a ton of content out there, right? So it's a lot of things, right? A combination of things. And for people, right, spotting it in people, it's most times there's one marker or two, and then you drill it and you see, oh, you are not wrong. Like this person actually, right? Would I say goes the extra mile, puts in extra effort, things like that, yeah. And sometimes
So
it can
like
be on the surface.
sometimes it can be what? Sorry.
Sometimes it can be invisible on the surface, right? But in the long term, it always shows. Yeah.
Okay, so just to like make sure I'm recapping correctly or I understand correctly. So having like a team that cares about the product is a hallmark of excellence. And you can kind of see this in the way that things are handled. So if you like document properly, I think that this is a hallmark of excellence because it helps future engineers on the team do work easier. If you have things in place to mitigate risk, so I can think. So one example I can kind of think about is, do you have tools to kind of handle production issues? Like if there's something happening in production, and we're sure that this is kind of something that would happen often, maybe based on the kind of product we have, do we have tooling that will make it easier to do next time? You also spoke about like consuming the right content technically. And something that you added that I think probably should be called out more often is a lot of people kind of have this like very hard line of I don't do anything on the weekends. So I mean, like I'll kind of leave people to like deal with this in their own way. But like I think personally, so just as a personal thing, I across like my own company, I read like other teams' design docs that I have no business reading. And this is purely because I want to see what are you doing here. It was interesting. And the only time I have time for that is on the weekend or like if I'm commuting. And if I was going to follow like regular or like the common advices here or like common feeling here is I probably wouldn't do anything on the weekend and just like be focused on my team and focused on our context like only. So I think it was really important. So like, thank you for that. Thank you for the contribution. I think that was really good. Ajia.
Okay. Like similar to what he said, yeah, there is certainly a lot of that for me too. I believe excellence is in want. I mean, obviously doing what you are being able to do what you're meant to do, the expected, but even going beyond. And I would give an example. There was a time we were, and I mean, I don't fully blame the team for this because it was like a really hectic time for everyone. But there was a time we were um trying to run a demo, right? And I mean, obviously, we have our back-end engineers, we have our front-end engineers, we have QAs and stuff. And the back-end engineers, so the QAs were not available that particular day. And so we had built things, and I mean, I had tested a couple things personally because obviously, I mean, it's my product, right? I need to test these things. So I downloaded the app on my own phone, I'd run the tests and stuff like that. And so I called my backend engineers, mind you, like three of them senior, and I'm like, guys, the QA is not around. You're going to have to act as a QA for the day. We've written the code already. Now, what I need you to do is run tests. Just a couple tests, just to like make sure that we are even progressing on stuff you've done, right? This is no more on dev, like no more on your local one. And to my shock, everyone was saying, oh, they didn't know how to like they don't know how to even set up on their own device. And I'm like, oh, I don't know which world this is, but this cannot be how this cannot be the norm. Like if you guys are just writing code and just like, okay, I've done my work, I just close your laptop. There's no thirst for more, there's nothing, there's no drive, and so if they could, if I mean, even that could be seen as bare minimum in some other places, like in some other contexts. But for me, it brought it home that I don't think these guys right now, like a couple of them at that moment, and we spoke about it. And I mean that's where the managerial part has to come in because I mean, you have to give feedback and get feedback, and it's something we spoke about because I know some of them want growth, like they are hungry for growth and everything, but you need to realize that you need to be able to like stand out. You need to be able to like stand out from the crowd. That's how you can say you are excellent. If the crowd is able to do the bare minimum or just be able to put together code, you need to be able to go plus extra and beyond a bit. Um, it's about like he said, embodying the product, knowing the reason why you're doing things. As an engineer, you just don't want to just be giving tickets. I remember, I haven't been a manager for, the longest time. But even while I've been a manager, there's been different kind of engineers I've happened to come across. There was one particular engineer who would always just tell you that, look, all this talk you're telling him, he really doesn't want to hear. Just write his tickets and tell you what to do. Let him just go and write it and just he doesn't care about anything your product, whatever direction you people as a business want to be carrying. That's a personal problem for you and the business. He just wants to come, write his code and go. Right. In some ways, like in some aspects, he might be excellent, like maybe at writing code, but holistically as an engineer, that's definitely not what I want. Right. You want to be able to have people who genuinely actually care about the product. They want to know, okay, I mean, you have to care about the product for you to even be able to offer things that you think are like improvements. You have to care about the product for you to randomly even go and check the logs and or maybe check the error inbox and see what is the most consistent problem, or even just look at the response times of some calls and want to draw them down. I mean, they don't teach those kind of things. You have to, it's like a kind of drive that, I mean, you could try to learn how to, I mean, you could try to imbibe that culture. It can become a culture thing, but it's not something that just naturally or by default comes into everyone's head that yes, this is how they want to do it. And I think just being able to do that is like what makes a person like excellent. Like you said, now going to read documentation of other teams. It's that's a very, very interesting one. I mean, I don't think I've just gone around reading random documentations that have nothing to do with me.
It's actually funny
But
because
that is
I've actually had like scenarios where I get so randomly I've read something, I don't know, I've just kind of read something. And someone just in my team one day needs it. And I'm like, oh, I know that.
and
And they're like, oh, I come and work on this project. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you very much.
And so yeah, what you said is actually a very, very good way also of even like being like expanding yourself horizontally, and it answers one of the questions that you spoke about in the past of how you're able to talk about like how you're able to address like problems like with speed and like precision. Because I mean while we were talking about it, I was just imagining that I mean honestly, if all you ever know is really one way to do something, that would be the one way you try to do everything with. So if the only way you know how to solve a problem is using arrays, I tell you, every problem will have an array solution.
Yeah.
Like that's honestly just what it is. You will find a way. Don't worry. It might be it might be 3 raised to power n. You end up as your big O, but you will find a way with it. And so like just being able to read wide, being able to read. I mean like take in so much knowledge here and there. In the moment, it might not make perfect sense,
Yeah.
but as you go on, you just see that yeah, it's able to be useful. Your horizon is a lot more broadened. Like you said, you
Yeah.
taking a huge step back from even your own pens.
Yeah.
You're not just thinking that the only way to solve it is with this way. You can go through so many ways. Or rather than doing this, let's go through queues. Rather than doing this, oh, what about a try? Would a try be good here? Blah blah blah. And so yeah, just so for me, yeah, like I said, all in all, being able to just go beyond just
Above and
like
beyond.
you,
Yeah.
yes, above and beyond. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's a really good contribution. So like care, like having care can kind of drive it to do like certain things that normally you wouldn't do. I think something that is really cool. So I was kind of reading that Deliveroo, I think it's Deliveroo. It might be another delivery company, but I think it's Deliveroo. Well, like apparently it's like a thing in their company for every engineer to do like 4 deliveries a year or something like that. And I thought that was really cool. I'm like, if you cook beans, you would find out in the process of delivering this thing. And it also kind of reminded me of another conversation where I think like engineers typically don't like we like to kind of be in our own corner, building our own thing, don't really want to talk to customers. But I think that talking to customers is a really good way to get feedback on what you're building. And I would encourage people in the audience to try this. Even if you're not like on the customer, I don't know, engineering team or customer support team or on-call team, whatever, like volunteer like for a short amount of time and see what is happening there. Well, thank you, Gia.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off like your last statement, right? Because I think many times engineers think about like the engineering, you're thinking about like Kubernetes, you're thinking about Redis, you're thinking in terms of like technical solutions, but like you don't realize how like it connects to the customer or the user experience. So one like formative moment in like my career like at Paystack was we had built an entire like onboarding flow for merchants in Ghana, right? Like you sign up to Paystack, like it works, like queries are quick, everything works. But then I was in Ghana and like I was meant to help someone like on board. And there was a point where they were not clear on what endpoints to call or what essentially the UI wasn't clear. But in my head, it was like everything was pretty clear. Like if you call these endpoints, it's going to be pretty rapid, validation works, everything is quick. But then it gave me like a new understanding of how users are actually interacting with this. It's more than just APIs. Like it's a solution, and like your technical knowledge and everything that you're trying to build is meant to plug into that. You need to think of, like OJ mentioned earlier, you need to like zoom out and think about like the big picture, think about the business, think about how what you are building affects the company, the business, how people are going to use it. And going into excellence, right? I think excellence is, I'm going to be speaking from like context of like Paystack, right? As an engineer, as a person, as an individual, excellence boils down to 3 different like categories. I think the first is you need to think about like company excellence, right? The company that I work for, the company that I'm currently employed by, what does it mean for that company to be excellent, and how can I play a part into that company being excellent? Second thing is, as leaders, we need to also think about like team excellence. Something that I was told early in my career when I became a leader was like thinking about my team as a small startup, right? How do I think about what excellence means within the context of my team, what it means for my engineers to be excellent, and what it means for like the products that my team delivers to be excellent, right? When you're thinking, oh yeah, the processing team is building this thing, will people be excited to know that this team is going to build something that's excellent? Just creating that culture, just creating that idea that like we are an excellent team. So, and as leaders, it's your responsibility to just figure out what excellence means within the context of your team. And all of these boil down to like individual excellence. As many people have mentioned, there's the parts where engineers need to care. Like there's a difference. I think like two engineers that have the same skill level and one just like cares deeper than the other, the one that cares deeper will always win. And just having that deep care sometimes makes up for some technical inadequacies, right? Because like someone that cares deeply is going to put in the extra effort. Someone that cares deeply is going to do what the other person, like I don't know how to figure this thing out, but I'm going to do 6 hours. I'm going to do like the extra hours to figure it out. So that's something that I look for in engineers, like someone that just cares, someone that understands like what the problem is and like how they can look in and figure out what the solution to that problem is. Then on the individual excellence parts too, there is the parts where engineers by themselves need to realize that there is a lot of work that it takes for you to be excellent, right? Like everyone cannot be excellent. Like excellence is a word, it's a superlative for someone that is doing something that no one else is, so you need to be doing things that no one else is, right? Like you mentioned, you are reading articles from other teams. No one else has that context. Someone is doing something like you are working on weekends. You are taking those extra hours to do something that no one else is. So as an engineer, as like a person yourself, you need to be doing that extra work to make sure that you're excellent. Excellence is not going to happen by chance, right? There's effort that needs to be put in for it to be excellent. So it starts from the individual. If you're an excellent person, you're an excellent individual, then you have that deep level of care that would trickle down into like the teams that you work for. The teams you work for would also be excellent. If you are working in an excellent team, then the company you work for would also be excellent. So it's like everyone needs to take effort or put effort into making sure that they are excellent, not just technically, but like in the way that they relate to people, in the way that they think about products, and the way that they care about the things that are in their care. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much, Ife. That was really good. So, something that I kind of want to maybe address is, there's someone asked a question on the chat. Oh, no work-life balance. I think that so again, like everything is kind of context specific to people, right? I would say mileage varies, and it is perfectly fine, for example, to decompress on the weekend and like structure your weeks in the way you achieve almost the same thing. For example, like the stuff I said about reading like other teams' docs, I kind of do this in two contexts. Sometimes I read on my commute to work, and sometimes I just read on the weekend just because, like, I don't know, like I find it interesting. But even if you just do it on the week to work, so something I said in my earlier talk was 0.1 is better than 0. Like even if you were reading this for 15 minutes a day, like you just go into the doc and just like, what can I figure out in 15 minutes? And you were not doing it before, I think is like a lot better than like nothing. And that is just one like something I do. That might not be what you do. Like the way that you show this excellence might be going to like your business teams to ask about, oh, like how is my product actually doing? Like a lot of people don't know how much the products they're building are making. Like you don't know how much money this thing is making. You don't know what were like the biggest complaints from customers this cycle. You're just waiting for like a product manager to bring the problems to you and like you solve it, like what Ajay was saying. So just wanted to put that context out there. Like this can be different. This can be different for different people. John, yes, you go next.
So let me start from the no work-life balance and then I'll work backward, right? So I think a lot of people are just not ready to do what they need to do. There's no way you want to lock in or focus on something or drive and you are not going to trade off other things. because you have 24 hours in a day. Really. So I think in becoming excellent, right? Because I say one thing in my team, I say, don't do excellent stuff. I don't want you to do excellent stuff. Because if you do excellent stuff, it's going to be intermittent. I want you to be an excellent person. Now, if you're an excellent person, because that's who you are, you will be uncomfortable, even in an environment that is not excellent, to not produce excellent output. Right. So it starts from, you need to first of all understand yourself. You need to understand, who are you? For example, if you know that, okay, I work best at night, or I work best at this particular time, then you are now going to, because if you don't understand yourself first, there is no way you can be great at what you're doing. Because if you understand yourself first and you're producing quality output, then your output will now be a leverage for you to be able to negotiate for other things, right? Now, there's one thing I tell the engineering managers or principal engineer when they come with designs to me, system designs. The first thing is, I don't want to see your system design. Show me the product design. And then let me see if you understand the product that you're trying to build. Did you ask your product manager or product owner why? If they tell you to build something, why do we need to build this? Because the thing is, when you ask that why, and then you also look at the bigger OKR for that team, for that quarter, sometimes your why may end up moving us not to even build it in the first place, which is saving several hours of work, right? Not just you taking what they're giving you and then you just going running with it. Excellence means that you should be able to ask questions. It means that what matters to you first is not getting work done, it's clarity, understanding what you need to do and why you need to do it. That is a form of speed. A lot of people don't understand what they need to do, why they need to do it. So you start doing and then you're like, oh, right? I consider people unserious when they put in so much work and then you get to a point, a blocker, and then you could have asked this question a bit earlier. I will find you really unserious. In fact, I will not regard you because you are not a serious person. Why did you look at this in the first place and map out how you want to achieve these things? It also means that you putting in work to upskill yourself, because it's very important. You need to try to upskill yourself. For example, let's say you finish the work for the sprint, 2-week sprint. There's nothing that says that you shouldn't go and meet your engineering manager or product manager and say, yeah, what's your biggest pain point? I want to solve it. Now, those are things that actually get you promoted, not you doing your basic job. Your basic job gets you your salary. But then what gets you recognized and gives you a shout out is when you go out of your way to actually get some things done. The reality is this: there will be some days you need to put in extra time on weekends. We need to accept that. That's the reality, right? Now, what's your own, how do you manage that? How do you deliver? Do you grumble? Can't I call you to say, can you please help me just do this? And then you're able to deliver it more than, or you're able to understand my problem and go further than that. So, but then the problem we have now is that we have a lot of people that are not excellent. That's the reality. And you go for interviews, for example. I'm not saying don't use AI tools, but if you cannot even understand what this agent has done for you, it's just very, very lazy. 75% of interviews I do daily ends up being a no, or in fact, 80%. Because the little things, you don't know the little things, you don't care about the little things. As simple as you preparing to come for the interview can save you a lot of things, right? So we are in a generation, we're in a age whereby there's mediocrity all around. And I think from my own experience, it's getting more and more difficult every day to find excellent people. In fact, when you see people celebrate things, you see how bad we've gone, because you see how people celebrate the barest minimum. Let me give you an example. An engineer coming to me or going to their manager that, I want to be promoted. Why do you want to be promoted? Yeah, because I'm doing this and this. What is your job description? If you are doing what is your job description, why should I promote you? Because really, what gets you promoted is I think you are doing more, and I think you should be compensated in that regard. So I think we all need to retrospect and sit back and say, what are the little things that I'm doing that I could have done better, that I could have gone out of my way? And then do I care so much? But today,
Yeah.
it's that's the reality. So if you think you're excellent, go back and really check yourself and say, what are the things I can do to be better? Right. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, John. That was good. Thank you. Again, thank you so much, everyone. I think that we're at time now. Other sessions are about to begin. I hope that this has been useful for everyone. I hope that you've learned something, and I hope you've taken something away. Again, your mileage can vary. So take everything in your own context, in your own company, in your own role. Think about it. Think about how it applies. I cannot believe 1 hour flew. I actually had so many questions, and we could only do a few. But I think that the answers were really good. We have some questions actually in the Q&A. I'll see how to get answers to them from the speakers, and we can add them in. But we really need to go now because other talks are about to start. But thank you all so much. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you for making time to be here. Thank you to everyone that is attending this. I hope that this was good. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.